Hey class, welcome to Unit 3. As promised, we are going to jump into this screencast of what we're looking at in Unit 3 and specifically what we are going to be studying this week and how we are going to be applying that in the form of our assignments. So just a quick jump back for Unit 1 and Unit 2. We covered a lot of ground there. We're talking all the way from the mid-15th century up through the colonization period that's going on. We talked about that Atlantic history where we see the collision of people, civilizations, cultures, food, diseases, crops. We see European, African, and the Americas cultures and just entire civilizations. They begin to intertwine their fates with one another, right? And we see a whole lot of exchange that goes on inside there. We're looking at this from a larger perspective in Unit 1 and Unit 2, and we're starting to see how the Europeans and Africans and Native Americans all begin to interact with one another, right? This week, we're going to slow it down a little bit. We're going to start to focus in on the English Empire. Now, that's not to say we're only going to focus on the English Empire, because we want to take a look at the larger geopolitical things that are going on in the world at the time, too, especially English relations with France. But we'll get into that here in a second. So let's talk Unit 3. So what are we looking at here? Unit 3, we're going to have the Unit 3 quiz and the Unit 3 essay. This is going to be our first essay of the course. I've got a great example for y'all to take a look at. So please, this is going to be well worth your time to sit here for probably about 6 more minutes, listen to this video. Promise it's going to be good. All right, so we have our a recurring theme that's going to be here in Unit 3 that I want you to consider in everything that you're reading and everything you're doing. How did this affect the eventual decision to declare independence in the long term and in the short term? We divide our readings up into two separate sections here. We've got the English Empire, and then we've got the path to revolution. I can't open in tabs. Never mind. All right. So, English Empire. This is where we're going to talk about long-term, that long-standing conflict that's brewing over time. Nothing that's really necessarily causing an immediate break with the English Empire, but we're having some tension that's building here. There's cultural changes that go on through the Great Awakening and the Enlightenment. We see some of the early resistance to slavery and the early idea towards it, and the early views on slavery in favor of it. An excellent video that I encourage all of you to watch, and this is probably a good place for you to start in your studies here, is watching this crash course history video on the 7 Years' War. As the title or as the description says, this is about the long-term causes. This is going to give you a good baseline of what you're looking at. But just having a baseline understanding is not enough for you to get through this History 2111, right? We want to get past that surface understanding of history. We want to dive a little bit deeper. We dive deeper by getting into the OpenStax textbook and especially taking a look at these primary source documents. Here in the Path to Revolution, again, we've got a crash course history, US number 6 here, and this is going to talk about the short term, specifically things like the Intolerable Acts, the Sons and Daughters of Liberty. We start talking about the very important aftermath of the French and Indian War. Very important how when the English have to try and figure out how to pay for that very expensive conflict, and as a result, we see a number of other drastic measures that were taking place that the colonies did not feel very receptive towards. Read through these documents, watch those 2 videos, you're going to be set up for success. That's going to help you a ton as you are looking at our Unit 3 quiz. In the Unit 3 essay, those items are going to help you find a baseline here. When you get into this essay, and this is very important, please pay attention to this here. I promise it's going to set you up for success. Take a look over your instructions. We are going to be looking at the long-term and short-term causes of the American Revolution. We're looking at least 1,000 words, at least 5 paragraphs, and we are going to use at least 3 of these primary sources. Excuse me. This is important. We are talking about primary sources here. A primary source would be considered these 4 items. 3 of these 4 you need to use. And we're not talking about just referencing them at the end of your paper. We want to start to draw some direct evidence from inside of these primary sources. Between the OpenStax textbook, the items that are listed in the 2 sections of the unit, if you stay inside of here, I promise you're not going to have any problems with this assignment. People get into problems with this, and I hate to bring it up, but I'm going to say it, is that these essays are reviewed through a program called Turnitin. For those of you who've been attending a school for a little while, you've probably seen this before. It will scour the entire internet and say if you are copying and pasting off of a website or through another student's paper, but I know nobody's going to do that, so we don't even need to get into it. If you work inside here and it's all original material, you will do fantastic on this. So we want the bulk of your information to come from 3 of these 4 documents, or 4. It's a great idea. Watch those 2 videos, read the OpenStax textbook, start to find your ideas and your key thoughts on what the long and short-term causes of the revolution are, and then find the historical evidence inside of these documents. You could also do it in the opposite way, where you read these and you start to form your own opinions, and then you find some secondary sources to help you. But the great way to do this is to get yourself familiar, take the quiz, get yourself all settled in, and then really dive into these items. And we are going to create a professional paper here on the long and short-term causes of the American Revolution. This paper is going to be MLA formatted. We need 12-point font, prefer Times New Roman. We have the Purdue OWL guide, as well as the citation help reference. Now in a second, we are going to roll through an example of a great MLA paper here. I encourage you all to take a look at this. When you are citing primary sources, it's not an exact science. I know some people are going to come up with different things on this. It's okay with me. As long as you're making the effort towards it and you are paying credit towards the person who is stating the original words, I'll give you credit on it. Okay? Urge you all to take a look at the MLA style introduction, this Purdue OWL. I use this for going to school. Great tool. All right, let's take a look here. So this is an example from a different class. Jillian did a great job on this. It is a different essay, and I will let you all kind of roll through this and take a look here. But take note, we have double-spaced, clean, Times New Roman. We have an essay title up here. This is going to be a lot longer than what you have to turn in. But just take a look through and examine that we are having citations, in-text citations involved here. That is where you quote something and then you provide a citation at the end of it. We use a ton of these citations throughout these papers. And if you're quoting the textbook, we'd be looking there. And take note that we have name, last name, and page number up at the top. And then we have, very important towards the end here, is the works cited page. Okay? Take note, the only thing that this student used, the textbook, and then the primary source documents. So similarly, you could use the OpenStax textbook, and then you could have the 1, 2, 3, or 4 primary sources that are listed right here. If you produce your essay to look like this, I promise it's going to add that academic weight to this, right? So a lot of the times you get an essay that's written really well, but people are single-spaced on there. They don't have their name written on the paper. Things aren't indented, and it just doesn't add that automatic academic credibility that a nice, clean MLA paper has. And it gets into the concerns over where did this information come from. If you are citing where your information came from, and you are really putting the effort towards it, I promise this thing's going to work out well. All right, so just to recap what we talked over here. Long and short-term causes. Stay inside the primary sources. Feel free to use the textbook. If you are quoting something, which you are expected to in here, quotations around it, close it out with an in-text citation at the end. And it's expected, 15 to 20% of your paper is encouraged to be direct quotations from the primary sources. We want to see the students' understanding of a topic supported by the primary sources, and also you can sprinkle in some of the secondary sources that are in there. Take your time in this assignment. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Always happy to take calls on this, text messages. I've had some great interactions with everybody. Really looking forward to continuing to grade your Unit 2 assignments, and we'll be around the corner for midterms before you know it. So thanks so much, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in here. And again, let me know if you got any questions. Thanks.